time to get back to iCarly again. And this time it's gonna be another season 1 episode. I Got Detention. Yeah, it's an episode where the iCarly gang do the 50th web show spectacular in detention. The reason why they need to get detention is because Sam got detention as usual. And they tried to find different ways, and Carly is the only girl in the group that managed to get to detention. As for Freddy, he tried, but with the stupid stuff that's going on with the writing, he didn't. Yeah, the ways that they try to get detention are pretty stupid and really not that hilarious in my opinion. I really found that pretty much one of the weakest parts of this episode is how stupid that they still didn't get detention after their attempts. That is just really stupid. But other than that, the second half of this episode is really brilliant because they need to do the spectacular when the teacher is not in the classroom. So when he's gone, they start the web show. And when he gets back in, they get back into place, while Freddy stays in the closet. This episode is one of my favorites because of how genius the writing is. I mean, yes, the ways they had to get detention and it failed was kind of stupid. And even though it tries way too hard to be funny, but other than that, the second half of this episode saves this episode. Mr. Howard was also appeared in the Amanda Show, and now he actually has a role in some of these episodes. His character is obviously the careless, ruthless teacher who always hates everyone and doesn't like any fun whatsoever. That's basically what Mr. Howard is in this episode, and this show in general. I really like him. I mean, he's not one of the best teachers from the show, but I really like him for what he is. At least they got the personality right. As for the problems, like I said, the stupidest ways of getting detention just backfires on the iCarly gang, which is really stupid. I mean, the teacher who completely fall off and get a vacation without punishing the student for causing it is pretty weak and not very hilarious. I mean, I can understand it's supposed to be goofy, but this is not the right time to be goofy. I mean, I can tolerate someone stealing the stapler and then the teacher is okay with it. And Principal Frankenstein's eggs on the window got washed off is okay. But this is one of the weakest. And it's really not one of the best jokes in this episode. The 50th web show spectacular is very important for the iCarly gang, so they had to do all their power to make sure that Mr. Howard is out of the room. So they had to do all the activities they are able to do, and when Mr. Howard comes back, you can tell he's gonna cause a lot of trouble every time he sees something. I mean, really. The fact that the students managed to get away with Mr. Howard Eats Pants, I actually find that hilarious and very hard to understand how Mr. Howard can let that slide. I know he was completely confused, but he's the teacher and he's in charge to take over this class. But Principal Franklin, who was watching the 50th web show spectacular, saw that Mr. Howard says he's a weak, spineless fool. So they let everyone else free and end the web show on a good note. Well, it's mostly a relief note, but you get the idea. Out of all the iCarly episodes from Season 1, this is one of my favorites because of how entertaining and unique it is. I really like that there's some kind of development of how they're just trying to get the 50th web show spectacular to happen, even though they don't want to miss it and disappoint the fans. I mean, yes, there are problems like getting into the detention attempts, but other than that, I really love this episode. There's also a subplot where Spencer bought a gigantic cup of coffee. I really got nothing else to say about that, except that they're really trying to have all the side characters have a purpose in these episodes. I wouldn't say this is a very great joke, but at least they're giving Spencer something. And the ending is actually kind of hilarious, but also disturbing at the same time. I'm not going to explain why it's disturbing, it's just that it just reminds me about the... You know what, I just don't want to talk about it. I also like the side characters in the early seasons of iCarly. I mean, after season 1, the side characters are very nice and very helpful. Like, they gave a hat to a kid for a cap cam, and they have a lookout guard to see if Mr. Howard is coming back. I really love those kinds of characters. It really shows that Dan Snyder and his crew want to have someone have a role in this episode, even the most minor. That's what I really like about this episode. And it's way better than the Breakfast Bunch for Victorious. And before you ask, yes, I know that episode is based off the movie The Breakfast Club, but I didn't watch that movie, and even if I did, Victorious Breakfast Bunch will probably be very difficult to understand. I'm just not a fan of the earlier movies in the 1980s. I just don't. Anyway, I really enjoyed this episode. This episode gets an 8 out of 10. I'm Lonely Fanboy 4 here, and I'll see you next time.